Story number 1. The Tale of the White Mercedes. So I was driving away from my daughter's school after drop-off. There is only way out of the area where the school is, and all parents have to drive it. It ends in a T-junction to a main road, and there is major construction going on around there, so there are often large trucks and bulldozers, and the whole road is torn up to basically be a dirt road. I am stuck behind a garbage truck that is driving about half the speed limit, which is frustrating, but I know I will reach the main road soon enough, so I just wait and crawl along with it. In this section of road, it is too narrow to pass comfortably, particularly with the construction, and anyone who tries is likely to come face to face with either a giant steamroller or an angry construction worker. So, along we chug, slowly, around the last bend before the main road intersection, where the road gets a bit wider. I had noticed that there was a white Mercedes TM behind me being very impatient, trying to overtake, pulling out and in again, flashing its lights and even blowing its horn to hurry up. As the three of us got to the wider part, the Merc roars past me, giving me an evil look as if it was my fault for being slow. And then the dump truck too. He almost slammed face first into an SUV coming the opposite direction, an Acura, I think, but made it into the lane in time. Now, here is the kicker. WM got to the lights just as they turned red. He was going left, so he wasn't going anywhere fast. And this light is notorious in the neighborhood for being very long. Had he been behind, he would have crossed that line at best 10 seconds later than with pulling that dangerous maneuver. And the garbage truck? It was turning right, which one can do on red, but it didn't have the space to take a wide enough turn because this fool had planted himself in between both right and left turning lanes. This, of course, meant that I was still stuck behind the garbage truck when I too was going left, because it was stuck there behind WM. So the only outcome of all of this was a slow-moving garbage truck moving even slower and being held up behind a white Mercedes. Thanks, white Mercedes! Story number 2, how I got sexually harassed at work today as a minor. I work as a cashier for a well-known store in the US. I am 16 and this is my first job, being there for a month now. I'm ringing people up. A man comes in with his friend to buy some beer, and I tell him the next cashier can take him. His friend starts talking to me. He first asks how I am. Then he asks if I'm a boy or a girl. Keep in mind I'm trans FTM passing well. I tell him I'm a guy. But it doesn't end there. He asks when my shift ends, and I say on autopilot, the time. He then winks and tells me he'll meet me, and my coworkers tell him to stop. But he doesn't. He gets defensive and keeps telling me that he really wants to meet with me. We tell him to stop. He leaves. I go take my break since I'm a little shaken up. After that, I go back to the register. He then comes back while I'm ringing someone else up. He keeps telling me he'll meet me and saying some weird stuff. My manager comes up and tells him to leave me the fuck alone and to stop flirting with a kid and that I'm trying to do my job. He resists and says he wants to meet and that if we can't, his sister and him will come back to beat my manager up. Then my manager, once again, tells him to get the fuck out or they'll call the cops. He then yells more expletives, then walks out. Luckily, he never came back during my shift, but I was so shaken up and I was scared to walk outside to go home. Thank goodness I'm safe, but I feel so stupid for saying my end time. I know I can't blame myself, but I feel so embarrassed and angry. Thanks for reading. Story number 3. How I had to cut off one of my friends for talking about my girl. Not just talking about her, saying the most disgusting shit he'd do to her. I'm 24 years. Kind of sad right now. He was one of my first friends I met in university. Met my girl the same day, actually. My girl and I just moved into our first home, and we had a BBQ out by the pool with a bunch of friends. Last night, this friend, when I wasn't around, was apparently talking about how good she looked in a bathing suit. My other friends told him multiple times to stop. He said, I know he's my best friend, but if she was ever passed out drunk, I wouldn't miss that opportunity. And after laughing about raping my girl says, not even passed out, she couldn't fight back by herself. My one friend sent me a Snapchat video of him after he talked about her long enough and wouldn't stop like what the frick, who would ever say that about someone? I'm livid, especially thinking how close we were. I've trusted him with her before. I keep thinking about a few months ago when I was out of town. He went to our old apartment and my girl was out, but she was staying alone that weekend. I talked to him on the camera and he said he forgot I was out of town. At the time, didn't think much of it, but now it's all I can think of. He keeps saying it was just a joke, but I don't believe that in the slightest. And even if it was, it wasn't funny. If he tries to come over, I'm not treating it like it was a joke. I'm pissed I ever let him in the same room as her. I've never heard anyone say anything like that, let alone one of my friends.